Good morning, everybody. It's 6 a.m. Coffee with Shanda. Joe's already been up for 3 hours doing burpees or something crazy. But I'm excited to be here with you as you're joining on. Say hello. And Joe Desena is the founder, owner of Spartan Races. Joe, I'm going to get you to give your background. He's drinking some crazy Spartan style tea. What is the tea you're drinking again?
Spartan tea. Yeah, I was just in Sparta, Greece. I grabbed a bunch of tea from the mountains.
And he's telling me how healthy it is and how it heals your wounds and does all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking maca. So let's just jump into it because I was sharing with some of our clients last night that I was actually sharing that every time I'm with you, you always say something that I obsess about for months. And it just transforms the way that I think about things or, just my results or even just what juice I'm pulling out of something that I'm working on in the moment, whether it's personal, physical, or business-wise. And so I love your mind. I love the way you think. And I just think this is going to be a great 20 minutes together. So give everybody a little bit of background on who you are. And I'm going to dive into some questions that you have no idea I'm going to ask.
Yeah, sure. So let's go way back, 1970s, Queens, grew up in an Italian neighborhood. I'm speaking a little low because all the kids are sleeping. And my mom finds yoga, meditation, becomes vegan in the 70s, which was very new. In California would have been new. In Queens, where I was from, in Howard Beach, she was considered a crackpot. But anyway, it opened my mind up. It opened my sister's mind up to a new way of thinking. She introduced us to a running race in Queens called the Transcendence Run. It's 3,100 miles around a 1 mile loop. It goes on for about 60 days. Again, opening our mind up to possibilities, what we can do from a human performance standpoint. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, just like my dad, kind of put my mom's ideas in the back of my head, made my way to Wall Street, built a business, made some money, got to know Jesse. It's where we were just talking about him earlier, a bunch of people. It was a great 12 years on Wall Street, but still had this stuff my mother taught me percolating in the back of the head. And started taking my clients to Bikram yoga, started doing some of the stuff my mother taught me with my friends, with myself, with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and eventually turned it into a business. And so now we have a company called Spartan Race. We'll put on 275 events this year around the globe, 40 countries, and we'll have over 1 million participants, 100,000 kids. And you're exactly right. I have to wake up. I woke up at 3:50 a.m. to start the conference calls. I have a rope climbing machine in the garage where you just continuously climb a rope. And so I do all my conference calls. I was actually going to do the call with you on the rope. And I just sit there and I knock out thousands and thousands of feet of rope climbing while I do frustrating calls.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And so you've created this Spartan company, and I get asked this question all the time. Well, before I jump into this question, let me preempt it with something else. Do you think that do you think you could develop a stronger drive, or do you think you're born with a certain drive that makes someone just grab onto these hard things and do these hard things and learn how to open up your mind like that?
I think we definitely have different predispositions as kids. I see it with our 4 children. Each one has I'll give you a quick example. I know we only have 20 minutes, but I was telling Shanda earlier, we did snow camping Saturday night. My wife had to go to Boston, so I had the 4 children, 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, all different personalities, to your point. And we hiked the mountain for 7 hours. It went from sunny to a complete blizzard. I mean, something out of an Everest movie. And I got a 5-year-old on the low end of the skill sets, and we're pulling a sled with the gear. And my 10-year-old, he was like a workhorse. He would be like a partner that you needed during like a Lewis and Clark expedition. This kid was unbelievable. Whereas my older one was worried about cooking once we got all set up and wanted to make the food. my daughter, my older daughter, she was like best dressed. She had slippers she had brought with her. She had 3 jackets. And my young one was just barely frozen. But so I think we have a predisposition growing up, and just the way we're wired. That said, I believe in the first world. We all sit in the first world here. We learn helplessness. And so we're not out on those mountain expeditions on a daily basis like we used to be, where we had to, have some ingenuity and kind of push through and had no choice. If you weren't motivated, you're dead. And so I think our environment softens us up a bunch and probably pulls some of those natural tendencies that we have inside of us and those capabilities. It shrinks those capabilities, right? And so that's why I love doing crazy shit.
Yeah. So then you've got like all these different personalities with your children. Do you ever think like some you could push harder, some you can't? Like, how do you approach that drive?
So I thought a lot about it because we were out there for 2 days, and I think about it all the time. I think you have to find those openings that you get and exploit the good stuff and kind of try to eliminate the bad stuff, right? As a parent. Now, the people you're talking to, the people on this call, they're already adults. And so my recommendation there would be, if they're looking to be a little more motivated or have some more skills or just go after life in a more aggressive way, you got to get out of your comfort zone. They did a brain study, which is still going on in Switzerland. And I'll give you a very easy description of the brain study. But basically, from 0 to 25 years old, we have these amazing brains. It's a muscle. And we go into rooms and we map out the room and we meet people and we really study them. From 25 to 50 years old, our brains cheat. They already know that a room is square. They already kind of know personalities. And so they do a lot less work. From 50 to 75, they even do less work, right? Because you've got more information. And so your brain atrophies and it shrinks. And so the common understanding was that at 75, you were just going to be at this level, which is 2/3 less than you are at 25 years old. They took the 75-year-olds and they got them out of their comfort zone. They put them out in the rain when it was uncomfortable. They had them learn a new language. They just did shocking things, cold showers, stuff that there wasn't. What they found was that the 75-year-old brain became more powerful than the 25-year-old brain just by constantly showing it new stuff and challenging it. So the one thing everybody out there can do is just go for it. Just shake things up a bit. Sitting on the couch and hitting the remote control doesn't do anything.
So tell them a little bit about Spartan before I jump into how you built it a little bit more.
Yeah, so Spartan is a military-inspired obstacle race. It's basically something you'd see in the military, right? When you're trying to get in, you're crawling under barbed wire, you're climbing over walls, you're jumping over fire, you're getting out of your comfort zone. It's my whole ethos. I live for it. Every day is a Spartan race for me, and it's awesome because I get these emails on a daily basis that say, "Hey, you changed my life. I'm back with my husband. I'm back with my wife. I lost 200 pounds. I no longer drink. I no longer do drugs." And it's all because we shocked the system. We have one woman who has 7 children from the Bronx. She doesn't have a lot of money, and she said, "When I go to a Spartan race, that's my time." She said, "I got so excited doing a few of these that I started my own business." So like it shakes things up, right?
Yeah. Do you think that so going back to drive, and you've been able to create this amazing company that originally you didn't have this big vision to grow the size of company you have right now. It kind of took you over, didn't it?
It took me over. Basically, I had an idea and it was going to be a hobby. I wanted to get people out of their comfort zone. I thought maybe there were 50,000 lunatics around the world that would do stuff like this. But then I had so much money invested month after month that I had no choice but to make it work. There was a gun to my head. And that's the thing about business is I think businesses become successful when you have no choice. I think if you're not fully committed and fully invested and took out a mortgage and told your friends and your spouse that this is what we're doing, and so your integrity's on the line, it doesn't work because, oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Business is going to get tough. everybody's going to want to quit. And so you got to put yourself in a situation where there's no choice but to succeed.
Did you ever run out of money while you were building it, or almost anything like that?
100 times.
So what,
ran out of money.
What would be your advice to someone who's sitting there and they're in a startup or they've been in business for a while and they're at a point where like their profit margins are just not where they need to be and they're struggling?
I would give the same advice to the 4 kids that were with me Saturday night in the snowstorm. We must continue forward. Like if we don't get back to the cabin, we're dead. So, yeah. Right? Like if I had a choice to stop in the snowstorm and sit and have hot chocolate, we would have did that, but there's no choice. And so you got to put yourself in a position where figure out that profit margin, right? You have no choice. You made this commitment to yourself, your friends, your family. You've invested this money. And so the other thing is everybody should have a personal board of directors, right? So find some people that have done it before. They found you, but get some others that have experiences that are different than theirs. And you'd be surprised. Everybody wants to help. Like if you see somebody working hard, you want to help.
Yeah. Well, there's the key indicator right there, working hard. What about this conversation of, well, I'll just ask you, do you feel like you've sacrificed too much to grow Spartan?
There's no doubt about it that life, it has a finite amount of energy you can give it. And so if I'm giving 80% of my energy to my business, then there's only 20% left for everything else. I've set up my life in a way that I run the business out of a kitchen outside of all the business trips I have to take. And so at least the kids see me and I see them. Now it's not perfect, but I say to my wife, listen, if I had a regular job, I'm getting up early in the morning, getting in a car, and I'm not home until late at night. That's what most people do. Yeah. I work like a maniac, but at least I'm doing it from the kitchen when I'm home and I'm seeing them. And so, yeah, you can't, there's a saying, right? In life, you can't have it all.
Yeah. Well, I say that all the time. There's these conversations that you can have it all. And I'm like, not at the same time. Not at the same time. You can, but not at the same time. You're going to have to recalibrate things to shift things around. So what do you think the hardest lesson that's given you the biggest payout in your life anyway, emotionally, physically, financially? What has been the best lesson that you've learned growing this business?
And I think it applies to your question, and we didn't coordinate any of these questions and answers, by the way, is patience. I've never had patience. Okay, so you don't have patience. I don't have patience, but when I look back, and I was actually thinking about it on the long hike Saturday night, is everything always works out if you just continue to work at it. And I think we all instinctually want to have it right away, and we get frustrated if it doesn't come right away. But, Spartan is 17 years in the making, right? It's like an overnight success, 17 years. But I wish I was more patient 30 years ago, because I probably would have made some better decisions. So if you play a long game and you're not going after the short win, I think you do a lot better off. Now, to your point, I haven't been great at that, but we're all learning and getting better every day.
What do you think the thing that had Spartan explode was? Like, what was that decision?
We had a tiny office when we really went for it. I was burning through $300,000 a month, and I convinced some young kids to work in the office, and I had mattresses set up, and they were literally sleeping on the floor. And one of the kids was the de facto CFO, young kid. And we needed like 800 to 1,000 signups every day to make this business work. And we were getting 80 to 100. I was 10% of my goal. It wasn't working, burning $300,000 a month. And one day the kid comes over and he says, we got 800 signups yesterday. And I said, oh, it must be a bad formula in your Excel spreadsheet. Can't be. We only get... But when we dug in, we actually had 800 signups, and at that moment it had turned. And I would say the reason it turned was because of a network effect, right? Like I just kept working at it. And eventually people all over the country finally knew what this was and wanted to participate in it. So it was like we were pushing a boulder uphill, and then we got to the top and it started rolling downhill, and we didn't even realize, oh my God, we just went over the top.
Do you think that's because you were speaking everywhere? You were like, what were you doing?
I was a maniac. here's something for everybody to consider. I had called up an advertising agency and I said, look, I don't have a bunch of budget, but I need to advertise in billboards, I need radio, I need digital, I need all these things, but I don't have a lot of money. So what I want to do is
You're such an ideal client.
What?
You're such an ideal client. Here's what I need, all of this, and I don't have a lot of money.
I don't have a lot of money. And I have no money, as a matter of fact, I said. And I said, I want to buy the remnant space. So if there's a magazine that's coming out, one of these 5 magazines, and they have an empty page, I could pay $5,000. I know they normally charge 50. I'm making up numbers, but I could pay 5. I need a billboard outside the Midtown Tunnel in New York. I know it's normally 50. I could pay 5. I need CNBC television spots. I'll buy, $5,000 a week worth of them, but I'll only pay $10 a spot, whatever it was. Ridiculous numbers. Sure enough, the phone started ringing. Hey, we got 3 weeks in the Midtown Tunnel. Do you want it? It's $5,000. I'll take it. Hey, we've got a full page in Men's Health. Yes, I'll take it. And so people started calling me, including Jesse. How the hell did you get a billboard outside of the Lincoln Tunnel, the Midtown Tunnel, right? Like regular companies were paying big money, but so you'd be surprised with some persistence and hard work can do, right? Because everybody starts out somewhere. Not everybody starts out a billionaire, right? You start out and you're gritty and people do things for you.
Well, I just say from a standpoint of a business coach, something that I'm really honing even with our client base is, and I'm being very transparent here, is who do I want to work with and who isn't ready to work with me. And what I mean by that is, like, I will give formulas for people to succeed, but the only difference between somebody making it or not, or somebody getting pissed off at me for them not getting their results or not, has everything to do with the way that they think. It's everything to do with, like, do they give up too quick? Like, I remember when you're getting people to go out there and, like, jump over fire and get dirty and just, like, get in it. And I'm like, you're sitting behind a effing freaking computer, sending email. You're not even cold calling people. You're sending emails to people to talk to them and create partnerships to create a network, right? Like it's like so easy what I teach them to do. I teach people to get influencers to endorse them. And then they build a huge referral list of these influencers who endorse them. And these influencers have no idea who they are, but we've cracked the code on how to do this, right? And we teach so many people a year on how to do this, and thousands of people a year on how to do this. But yet, there's still this chunk of people who make it to the end, and you're hearing these crazy stories like $20,000 in an afternoon, $100,000 in a week. And like, these are people that 2 years ago didn't have a business. You know what I mean? Like, these are they're extraordinary numbers, but yet then they're still not satisfied with that, which I like the drive. They want to keep driving. But then there's this other group of people who are watching these people, watching them. Sure. And we'll sit there and go, it's too hard. I don't feel like I'm getting enough support. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, you're not digging a ditch in 120-degree heat in Las Vegas with no water. Like, you're sending out emails.
Well, it's important that people have a frame of reference. That's my favorite term. So what's a frame of reference, right? So we go through life with glasses on, and it's our values and our beliefs, and it's the way we see things through those glasses. And what I suggest to people is, let's change those glasses, right? Let's dig a ditch for a day at 100 degrees in Las Vegas. Let's go out and do a Spartan race and crawl on the barbed wire. Let's go up and build a snow cave like I did with the kids, because if you change the glasses and you experience really tough times for an hour or a day or a week, you will no longer complain about sending those emails that Shanda's asking you to send, because it's like cakework. That's easy. Like, stop complaining about that. It could be a lot worse. Yeah. And so to your point on the network, I actually meant, again, you and I didn't coordinate, but I think that was the thing that got us over the top when we finally built that network where people knew who we were. And I've been a proponent since I'm a young kid, because of the neighborhood I came from, that network is everything. And I take every meeting, and I go to dinners, and I shake hands, and I look people in the eye. And I got to tell you, I've made more money because of a random person that I met years ago, but I stayed in touch with, and they call out of the blue and say, oh, by the way, my buddy's looking for, and I made millions of dollars that way from the most unlikely source. So like, I got to tell you, network is everything.
Well, and you're also speaking into a leadership quality of, generosity and connection. I mean, I think the top leaders, there's this mentality that I think people have as they're building, that they get overwhelmed, which is an emotional state of mind, right? They get overwhelmed as they're building. And I'm like, I always think, what's Joe handling? What's Sarah Blakely handling? I just always think about somebody that's handling something more than me to put a frame of reference in place. But it's like that space of generosity and being willing to look up and connect with people when they reach out to you and help them, that creates a dividend. It
comes back 100-fold. Help everybody you can. Now you got to be careful, because there's a lot of people I help that turn out to be disasters, right? And they suck all the energy out of you. And so, but that's 1% of the people. 99% of people are awesome, and they accept that. And then 10 years from now, you get a phone call, or 2 years from now, or 2 weeks from now, that say, hey, you know what, Joe, let me connect you with this person because.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad that you spoke into this. Okay, so we're coming to an end, and I do have another question that I wanted to ask you really quickly. No, I asked you that one. Your perspective really quickly on parenting.
Yeah, so I think as parents, we have a choice. This is for you too, for your 3-year-old Zach. Every day, all day, we have a choice of go the hard way or go the easy way. So my wife had to go to Boston. She left a bunch of Easter baskets in the house that were for the kids. The hard way is, are you kidding me? Like, we're not eating all this junk, right? The easy way would have been just to give them the baskets and get them to shut up. But I always choose the hard way. And my mother used to always choose the hard way with me. And I think short term, I'm going to have kids that would migrate to my wife, who's a lot nicer and more fun to hang out with than I am. But long term, I think they'll look back and say, you know what, Dad wasn't crazy. He actually helped us build these amazing character traits. And so go the hard way every chance you get.
Yeah, and we were talking about this whole concept that Stephen Hawking said that we might have to be like moving to another planet in the next 100 years. And I thought to myself that, I'm not going to be here, but, my child is, or children, and their kids are definitely going to be here. And I just thought to myself, what's going to cause them to be on that ship to another, or that rocket ship to another, planet? And I thought, it's their network. How many people have they helped and served? Do you know what I mean? It's their network and who they know, and it's their mindset and their resilience. You know what I mean? I'm sure money will have a factor in that, but you make money if you actually have a strong mindset. You can it's just work ethic. You know what I mean? So
they should learn another language. You're going to think I'm crazy if you're listening to this, but I always had the kids watch Mandarin television. So you can watch as much television as you want, as long as it's in Mandarin. Now, you may not choose Mandarin, it might be Spanish, French, whatever you want. But people learn languages just watching TV. And if it's a young kid, they don't know the difference.
Yeah. Zach watches Chinese.
There you go.
Do you put them through any sort of, do they have like a tutoring thing for other languages?
Well, just Mandarin. So we have a tutor come in now and help them with Mandarin. And I'm a believer in Mandarin and math, because there's so many Asian kids. I went to Cornell that just crush mathematics and crush school in general. And so I want to do a little of what they're doing.
Yeah. I'll send you an article later on today. I posted it on my Facebook page, and it actually showed how these genius kids are actually getting less smart through the schooling system because it takes away their imagination. And they were showing how 98% of children, I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's say before the age of, I think it's 10 or 12, I'm just going by memory, but they're geniuses. And as they go up through the schooling system, it comes down to 2% by the time they're adults. And it's literally from taking away creativity and imagination. So it's fascinating stuff. All right. Any final last words that you want to share with our entrepreneurs?
Yeah, work hard, and take no prisoners, and stop complaining, because it's hard work, and then we're dead. That's just the way it goes.
I loved what I go to a non-denominational Christian church, and the pastor said yesterday, which I thought was brilliant. And he looked at the audience and said, he quoted a scripture, but then he said, the people who will lose, you will be a loser if you whine and you complain. And I thought, how amazing for an actual minister to be that clear with people, like, stop complaining and whining. Otherwise, you are choosing to lose.
I love it.
I love it too. Awesome. So I listen to Spartan podcasts, and I have the download on my phone. I listen to it when I go running. I listen to it when I go for a walk. I listen to it in the car. It helps me just tap into some Joeism and really get into some of the people that you're studying and listening to impact your mind as well. So is it just Spartan Up Podcast? I have it on my phone.
I think so.
You can find it. So it's on my phone. So I'd recommend that you do this. I tell my clients all the time to pay attention to who I'm studying with or who I'm allowing to influence my mind. And you are one of 3 people that I really allow to influence my mind. So thank you, Joe, for being a great person. And thank you for continuing to work through your own struggles to create the life that you've created. You're awesome. Thanks for getting me on this program. Well, last time it was 2 a.m. in, I think, China or somewhere you were at. No big deal. It's awesome. All right, you guys, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and have a great day.